So give you a little update on some capital projects. And if you have questions about these specific that go beyond my expertise, I've asked Garrett, he'll step up to the table if need be. First, talk to you about the track. They're doing the grinding. It's supposed to be coming in by the end of this week to get it ground off. If you recall, we had all that flaking take place, and there was a little bit of miscommunication as to what all needs to be ground, and we've reiterated the point and time again, all of it. Get it all done. So they should be getting that going. Then the next step after that, if you recall, is the actual application of the paint and the rubberized surface together. But herein lies the rub. The temperature, in order for this to work, it can't drop below 40 degrees. So if you look projected forecasts, next 10, 15 days, it drops below 40 degrees overnight. So we will get all as prepped as we possibly can. If you recall, they believe the flaking issue had to do with certain areas of the track were not properly cleaned. So they're all ready to roll and set to do that in the way that will keep it from flaking next time. But we're just holding crossing our fingers that they'll be able to get to that by the end of February, 1st of March. The official first track meet doesn't take place till mid-April. So we've got plenty of time. Talk to Kent and Jerry, and they're looking at plans A, B, C, and D. If we need to take the track meets elsewhere, of course, that's not what we want to do, but we're working every angle of this we can possibly do. So that's the update on the track. I already mentioned the middle school water damage. The great news on this is there's no drywall damage or carpet damage. And once again, this is really to the good work of Garrett and his crew and Daniel and his crew, because we had 2 inches of water in there, and it would have grown if we hadn't gotten into it when we did. Now, individual pieces of tile, and actually it's the grout underneath the tile, along the expansion seams are popping. So we are doing some spot tile replacement as we speak. Then ultimately we'll need to come up with a long-term fix for the tile work. If you've not been into that area of the school recently, it's the entire cafeteria and then down that hallway, and I guess it's the furthest north portion of the hallway, down that the tile down that hallway where the bedroom is. The good news is no drywall nor carpet damage. So if you recall, when we had the last middle school swimming pool event, we had replaced basically all of the drywall in the office area and a bunch of the carpet. So we've avoided that joy, but we are going to have to be looking at the tile itself. The deduction we have with our new insurance is $100,000. This isn't even going to get within spitting distance of that. So this is all on USD 363. Whatever we choose to do on this, and we'll be coming up with, Garrett and I are talking about it today, a variety of options. Love to come back with tile, but we might look at a polished concrete answer. Personally, in my own house, before we moved into town, we had done an acid burn system on the concrete. Is beautiful, absolutely beautiful. But you can't really account for how the colors are going to come back, because it looks like marble is what it looks like due to the gradations of the concrete itself. Another option is, like at the concession stand, if you remember, we have that epoxy that we put down, and it looks really, really good, epoxy flake. So that could be another option. So we've got the areas which could have been trip hazards addressed. So that's not an issue, but long term we still need to address where the various areas have been popping up. So final thing to talk about within the area of capital projects, there has been a resurgence of interest in possibility of turf at the football and or baseball field, or both. So we've been looking at the concept itself, looking into costs, and then the possible revenue sources that could come down the pike on that. If you look at the baseball field, that's about $600,000. If you're looking at the football field, it's anywhere from $1 to $2 million, depending on what you're looking at. So that's the broad scope parameters on that. So then the next idea that comes down is the finances behind it. How would a group or district go about addressing this, if the decision were made to go down that path. There are a variety of revenue sources that could go into play on this. Donations could be elicited and brought together. Could have a bond. Our current bond runs out in the year 2033. Of the various options, if this were embraced and the concept were, hey, let's do this, it would make sense to combine a bond with retiring our current bond and then putting on top of that the maybe roofs and HVAC projects, because those are needed. Grants, there could be possibility of grants. I don't know where those are out there, but there could be. Save our own money over a series of years, as long as we don't have major expenses that come down the pike, a la swimming pools in the middle school. We could save up the money that could occur. The final one, which I personally am dead set against, is a lease purchase option. I just think it makes no fiscal sense to borrow money toward anything that is not an absolute emergency need. So, but I want to let you know the work is taking place on this. I had a meeting last week with a group of people who are really excited about the idea, and so just looking at all the options that exist within this. If the idea is through donations, though, this comes 100% back to your doorstep, because any kind of money that goes toward that, and or I donate a turf field itself, they would come before the board as a choice to whether you want it or not. So many miles to go before we sleep on that one, Mr. Peterson. But I did want to let you know that work is taking place within that realm. So the final thing to talk to you about, our new Mr. El Presidente had the idea, and I think it's a great idea. We ought to start taking some tours of the facilities. So starting next month, I don't have any real set in place plans yet, but we're thinking an hour before each board meeting. We have to limit, anybody in the public is welcome to come along, but we're not able to have more than 3 board members at a time do this. Otherwise, we're having a meeting. And if we want to have a meeting and put it into our actual agenda, that's fine. We could do that. And we figure do 1 per month. Start over at Wiley and just check out the facilities and whatnot. I'm looking specifically to get up on the roof, though, and go up and look at the roof systems and look at the HVAC systems. There are 29 HVAC systems up there. Each one costs about $30,000, and we can point out, well, this one we are, babying along. This one is, 5 years old. This one's 10 years old. And then we could also talk about the roof itself. Previously, I had a bid for the roof over there at $1.8 million. This is just for Wiley. So it's important stuff to long-term planning to be looking toward just exactly how deep the issues are that might be taking place when you're talking about facilities and whatnot. So the idea would be we do 1 building in March, 1 in April, 1 in May, 1 in June. And my mind's eye will start at the pre-K 2 building, and then we'll come over to Holcomb, the next one, and just see how that goes. So as we move forward over the next couple of weeks, I'll have Robin start pushing out who all wants to play, and we'll set something up. So that's my report, Mr. Peterson.
Thank you, Dr. Myers. Buildings and grounds. Nothing further. Transportation.
Nothing further.
Food service.
Nothing further.
Technology.
She's running in here to say
Nothing further.
nothing further.
Sorry, it's delayed in there when I was.
We'll move on to the principal reports. We'll start with Amy.
I wanted to talk about something that we are going to be starting up at Wiley, hopefully soon. It's going to be a little Longhorn hotline. And so some students are going to be putting together motivational messages for callers to be able to call in and listen to motivational messages given to them by kindergarten through 2nd grade students. So we're really excited about this project. It's literally simply to spread kindness and joy. Any person in the United States can call in. I've been in contact with the person who runs our phone systems, and he made it seem like it was a very easy process for us to do. So Ms. Castillo and I, my counselor, are going to be heading that up and meeting with some students hopefully within the next couple weeks to get that project going. We randomly chose some students. We literally put names in a spinner and it spun their name. So we're going to be talking to the parents about it at parent-teacher conferences to see if they're interested in their child being a part of this project. And hopefully it's up and running before spring break. So excited about that.
Thank you, Amy. Randy?
Okay, we have a new experience coming to Wiley and Holcomb Elementary, and that is roller skating. We're bringing back some roller skating. So I want to give a huge shout out to Coach Rodriguez, who has really taken the lead on this, looked into it, figured out what would need to occur for us to have this in place. We're looking at the first 2 weeks of March to have our roller skating, unit. And he is getting the permission ready, and then at conferences, we will need every single parent to fill that out, because they will, have to agree to some certain things, and they can also opt out of it if they choose to do that. But also I would like to give a shout out to Coach Rodriguez, because he went around and found some financial donations, because it isn't free to bring that to our kids. So he's done a lot of great work on this, and he's excited about it. We're excited about it, and just looking forward to seeing the kids roller skating during PE. So,
Did he get to his mark on how much money he wanted to raise or needed to? He was a little short last time.
I think he did, didn't he?
I think
We also collect some other donations that we had, and we kind of set them aside, and so we contributed some of those because they were donations from families too. So I think with that, we got there. Yes. Might have to do some videos of some skating. So hopefully their wheels are pretty tight, so they're not just rolling everywhere, but we'll see. We're excited.
Tyler?
One item I forgot to put in my report for the month. By the time we meet next month, we will have completed the NAEP test, which is the National Assessment for Education Progress. Our 8th graders take it, despite the best efforts of Dr. Myers to get us out of the supposed voluntary participation. It was not voluntary. We were told we must do it. We were randomly selected, I think 6 years ago was the last time we had to do it. But it's random selection. Holcomb Middle School got pulled. It mostly tests ELA and math. Sometimes they put science and social studies on it. The test will be March 3rd, just for 8th grade. They scheduled it a week and a half before spring break, so I know they're going to be laser focused and do really well on it. And unfortunately, we don't ever see the results of it. They use it to norm reference federal standards, or, well, they don't have federal standards, but federal guidelines on English and reading, reading and math. So that will be happening. So I just want to make sure you were aware of it. So thanks.
Thank you, Tyler. Gary?
At the high school level, we're in a kind of a funky time. You're in right in the middle of the finishing up winter activities, getting ready to overlap with spring activities, getting ready to start, starting to finish up, have conversations with seniors about what's your plans for next year. Are we squared away with this? All taking a look at what courses are we going to begin to start to look at offering for next year. And so next week, you'll start to see Mrs. Gifford get with the different classes and start offering course selections for next year, which is crazy to think about, but also knowing that in about 3-4 weeks, we're at spring break. And it's crazy to think that we're sitting here on February 9th, and you're going to snap your fingers, and next thing you know that you're at spring break, and then school's going to be just fast to being into it. So we're looking at course selections for next week. The toughest thing was to say is the class of 2030 is your incoming freshman. And so when you start to put that on calendar, it's real of, man, like you feeling this is crazy. The time is getting away from us whenever you look at this. And so I know several of us have seniors in this, and it goes fast. And before you know it, they're in college, and you don't know what to do with yourself. So crazy time right now.
I think my senior told me tonight that there's 50 school days left.
Not that she was counting her.
Amazing how that countdown takes place.
Thank you, Jerry. We will move to unfinished business, and we got an independent audit report from Kennedy McKee and Company.
Alrighty, every year on an annual basis, it's by statute, every district in the state of Kansas has an audit performed by an independent organization. Basically comes in and take a look at our fiscal and business operations from the previous fiscal year. We've had a relationship for many years with Kennedy McKee and Company, and they do a fine job. I mean, because they're very, very thorough, a little bit too thorough. No, they do a nice job with it. And they keep us lined up with what's going on legally, and just, to look at everything that we do and to make sure that we're being good stewards of the public's funds. So with that, Chastity's here to give us a report.
So the loose leaf letter is the letter to governance. We audited the financial statements as of June 30th, 2025. Professional standards require us to go over a few things involving information on accounting policies and various standards. Management is responsible for the selection of use of appropriate accounting policies. The significant accounting policies used by the district are described in Note A later on in the financials. There was no new policies and no existing policies were changed. Accounting estimates are used, such as the accounts payable and budget, and we didn't notice any changes in how those are accounted for from the prior year. On that second page, we didn't have any problems dealing with management, and there were various adjustments made for reporting purposes, but none needed to be made by the district itself, just for reporting. For the purpose of this letter, we're pleased to report that there was no disagreements during the audit and that no other outside auditors were used. We did note that there was one instance where one employee was paid $2,000 less than what their stated contract was. So we just recommend there's a quick review of payroll, make sure that contracts match what's entered into the system, and then they're generated properly. Any questions on the letter?
No.
So page 1 starts the independent auditor's report. Like I said before, we audited the statements as of June 30th, 2025 on a regulatory basis. What that is the district uses the statutory basis, and for GAAP you get an adverse opinion, but for the statutory basis of accounting you get an unmodified opinion, which is a clean opinion, and that's what you're looking for. Management is responsible for the preparation and fair presentation of the financial statement, and we did not know any instances where anything was misstated. Our objectives are to obtain reasonable assurance about whether the financial statements as a whole are free of material misstatement, and whether due to fraud or error, and to issue an auditor's report that includes our opinions, and we did not know any issues. We exercise our professional judgment, identified and assessed the risk of material misstatements, obtained an understanding of internal controls, and evaluated the appropriateness of accounting policies. We audited the financial statements on a fund summary basis of the regulatory basis, receipts, expenditures, and unencumbered cash, and found to have a clean opinion. And there is information from 2024 comparative purposes, which were also had a clean opinion then. Any questions on the audit report? Letter. Page 4 shows a statement of your receipts, expenditures, and cash. It's just kind of a snapshot of your overall funds. I did want to note your unencumbered cash balance at year end was about $1.8 million less than what you began with. Most of that is due to your capital outlay expenditures, just the concession projects and various other capital projects, which we'll see. Page 5, it just shows a snapshot of your cash balances at year end. Cash on hand was about 6.5 million, which is a really good place to be in. Note A just goes over the accounting policies used for the KMAG. Talks about the budgetary information on when the deadlines are to be for that. And then note B talks about compliance with Kansas statutes. We did note that there was one fund at the activity funds, the sales tax account, which had a negative cash balance. And then C talks about your deposits and investments. At year end, the amount of deposits was 6.6 million. The bank balance was 7.4 million. And of that, everything was fully collateralized either by FDIC coverage or securities held in the district's name. Note D is your long-term debt. That was your bond payment, and it was made, no issues on that. In capital projects, that's where most of your money was spent down out of capital outlay for the year. We had your restroom, concession building, security cameras, playground, rubber surfacing, and the track projects. And those are only projects that were started during the year and not ended at year end. So there was various other projects throughout the year too, but they were not ongoing at year end. Note F talks about capers. Note G is your risk management. You guys have your insurance to cover any issues there. Note H is another capers, death and disability plans, and your compensated absences. Note I is your interfund transfers. Statutorily, money has to be receipted into the general fund or the supplemental general fund and then transferred to the various funds which we're going to spend the money down. So that's just a note of where the money went from which fund. Note J, you guys get state aid and federal aid, and based on that, there is a possibility that they can come back and say that something wasn't expended correctly and that you would owe it back. Any questions on the notes? So on page 14 is an overall snapshot of the budgeted funds. And what we're looking for there is that far right-hand column is there's no brackets, which means there was no fund that was over budget for the year. The general fund, kind of the same as last year. There was a little bit more state aid this year. Less transfers were made to other funds, but there was more money spent out of instruction. Supplemental general, the expenses went up and your receipts went up. Everything pretty much stayed the same. Ended cash with just a little bit higher balance. The bilingual fund ended with less cash, but there was a much less transfer from the supplemental general than in the prior year. Virtual education pretty much stayed the same this year. And in capital outlay, transfers from the general fund went down about 439,000, and capital projects went up under your facilities acquisitions and construction services, and most of that is related to the capital projects noted earlier. Driver training pretty much stayed the same. Food service, there was a less of a transfer from supplemental general and less expenditures. Professional development, pretty much the same there as in the prior year. Parents as teachers, there was less aid, less state aid and less of a transfer, and then less expenditures since there wasn't as much cash transferred in. Special education, everything pretty much stayed the same in line with that one. Didn't change too much. Career and post-secondary education, there was quite a bit of a less transfer, and due to the less transfer, there was less cash at the end of the year. Preschool aged at risk, kind of the same thing, less transfer, less cash at the end of the year. At-risk K through 12 fund, cash ended up at the same place. Everything kind of stayed the same from the previous year to the current year. Capers, money goes in and then money goes out, and it's allocated based on salary functions. Rec Commission and the Rec Commission Employee Benefits Fund, the district receives the tax money and then sends it directly to the Rec Commission for both of those. The non-budgeted special purpose funds, I just wanted to note on that one, the federal grants at the beginning of the year was negative, but the financial aid was received in the current year, so then it zeroed out your balance there. Bond and interest fund, bond payments were made, and there is enough cash to cover the next year's, which is what we're always looking for. District activity funds are the funds held at the school, at the high school and middle school levels that are district monies, and we didn't have any problems with those. And then the agency funds is the children's money that's held at the school level, and the only issue we had with that one was the sales tax ended in a deficit. Any questions on the schedules? So then after that is the rec commission. And it's pretty much all I have, so. All good? We'll file with KSDE and Municipal Services. And they're always great to work with. I didn't get the pleasure of coming down this year, so I figured I needed to come down and deliver the report then. All
There you go.
right, thank you.
Thank you.
And I recommend approval or acceptance of the report.
Second.
Moved by Sean, seconded by Jerry to accept the report. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Next, we will have a presentation from the third grade students.
All righty, every other month or so, I'd like to have a group of students come forward and just basically present to the board all the cool things that are taking place in the buildings. This is one of the true joys of well, I mean, it's the reason we're here. And so it gives the a name and a face to our clientele, and so for the board to experience it a little bit. So Ms. Tyne, if you would set the table and bring it home, please.
Okay, so all of our grade levels at Holcomb Elementary, I'm not really sure whether to stand or, so I'm going to do this.
No in between.
All of our grade levels do some work with poetry. And as you all probably remember, that is not an easy topic or a straightforward topic. It's not necessarily easy to understand. And it's not easy to teach either sometimes. But kids work both on understanding a variety of poetry, but they also work on writing some poetry. So here tonight to share, we have a couple of our third grade teachers, Mrs. Friesen and Mrs. Stevenson, and I'm going to let them kind of introduce everything. And then we have 3 students here that are here to share, and I will let them introduce them as well. Can't wait to hear your poetry.
Good evening. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Elizabeth Friesen. I teach third grade here, and I just wanted to take a moment to share what poetry really looks like in the third grade classroom and why it matters. When people hear poetry, they often imagine kids memorizing poems or looking for rhymes. While that's fun, that's not really what we were doing in our classrooms. Instead, we were focusing on helping students to paint a picture with their words. We talk about choosing strong, descriptive language instead of everyday words, like maybe using bolting instead of running, or delighted instead of happy, just to kind of create that visual. That can get really hard. Some of the poems that we did, like a haiku, you're limited to syllables. You get 5 or 7 syllables to get your point across. So we really had to work at thinking, well, what words get that across, get the idea across that we're trying to do, using only 5 or 7 syllables. These skills, they don't stop at poetry. The same student who can analyze a poem is also learning how to make sense of a tricky math problem, following multi-step directions, or even explaining their thinking instead of giving up. Poetry gives a safe space to practice those skills because there isn't just one right answer. They get to think, talk, and share their ideas. Poetry also helps students to find their voice. Some of my quieter students are often more willing to participate when we're reading or writing poems. They start to see that their ideas matter and that words have power. That confidence carries over into everything they do. So when we teach poetry in third grade, we're teaching students how to think, communicate, and use language in ways that support them both in school and in the future in the real world. We have our third grade Stuco members here today. They're each going to share their favorite poem and why it was their favorite. First up is Drew Mead.
This is my bio poem. Drew, football hugger, athlete, son of Jamie and Justin, lover of Taco Bell, Fortnite, Doritos, who feels funny, crazy, awesome, who gives the best dab-ups, high-fives, knuckles, who fears the dark, alone, and bullies, who would like to see Asia, resident of Holcomb, Mead. My name is Drew Mead. My favorite poem is the bio poem. I chose this poem because it shares facts about myself. I learned that there is a lot of different facts about me that people don't know. I am glad I got to share them with you. Thank you.
Next, we have Evelyn Shelton.
My favorite poem is the Friendships and Cane poem. First, I think Friendships and Cane poems because you can work with a friend. Next, my favorite part is you can work with a friend. I chose it because working with a friend is so much fun. Last, I learned that friendship poems are fun because you are with a friend. Friendships and Cane heart pattern. Bryn, athletic, calm, playing, helping, reading, help people with I excels at B. By Evelyn Shelton.
We have Kennedy Burkhart.
I liked the bio poem the most because it was about me. I liked writing 4 adjectives because it showed who I was. It helped me learn about myself. Kennedy, smart, happy, funny, kind. Daughter of Tyler and Sierra. Lover of Pepsi, my house, books. Who feels good, happy, glad. Who gives hugs, drawings, love. Who fears death, failure, mice. Who would like to see New York. Resident of Kansas, Burkhart.
To kind of wrap up our poetry unit, we publish a poetry book, and I brought some if you guys would like to see them. Each student in third grade gets to put their bio poem in it, as well as illustrate it.
Cool.
These are from previous years. The one from this year has not been sent off yet. We're still working on the final drafts to send that in. But then they get to enjoy these books in the classroom, and if their family so chooses, they can purchase one to keep as a keepsake as well.
Thank you. Thank you. Okay, that's good. I'll just share. Thank you.
Great job, kids.
All righty, thank you very much for coming in. And we have cookies over here, don't we, Robin? We do. All right. Yeah, students want to come over and get some cookies, you're welcome to stay for the remainder of the evening. If you'd like, it gets exciting from here on out. But we understand if you probably have to get home and do homework or something like that. So, but you have to take a cookie if you're going to leave.
Just per class?
Yes,
Gotcha.
yes.
Very cool.
Yeah, each class is.
Thought it was.
Good word mouse.
No problem.
Thank you, ladies. I don't know who it is. How are you, dear?
I'm good, how are you?
I'm doing well, thank you. Yeah, trouble, young lady. I know there's difficulty. Tell you have yellow.
Maybe it was you when you were back there.
There you go. You got it. Whatever you did was right there.
Next, we have Association of School Boards of Policy Update Recommendations.
Alrighty, twice a year, the KASB puts out recommended updated policies or adjustments here and there. And then I go through them and see, well, here are the ones that are most salient to us. So this is first read. This is all tonight I'm asking for is, to accept approve the first reading of these proposed policies. And then next month is when the board will take final action on these. So there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 of these. BCBK has to do with executive session. It basically makes it clear that it's prohibited to record something during executive session. And there's lots of language that goes into it, but I've given you a real thumbnail sketch or a definition of what each one is. IKB, controversial issues, reinforces that it's inappropriate for teachers to express personal viewpoints that violate board policy or state law or on political activity. Basically it boils down to they can't press their own agenda. They have to be unbiased and even-handed with whatever the topic is, particularly dealing with if we're teaching religion as a topic, or as a subject matter, and or political type things. So it just has to be unbiased. JBCC, enrollment of non-resident students. This is an add-on to that basically puts it in our handbook now that says we can drive into Garden City or Deerfield or Wichita, wherever we want to go pick up kids. We always could, but now we have it into our handbook itself. There's a belief that we're supposed to get permission from the other districts, but that's not true. It's just not true at all. We can just go do this if we want to. JCAC, interrogation and investigation, basically reinforces the concept of in loco parentis, which means when the parents are not present, we as a school system or school personnel are acting as the parents, and it puts some parameters in place of when we should notify parents if a student is being questioned by law enforcement. So that's what this puts in place. JQI is for adult students who want to come back to school. It clarifies that the administration has the right to determine the placement of those students. So, we have the virtual school. We could say you're going in there, say if a 28-year-old who wants to come back to school. That's fine. But then we get to choose where we place that student. And the final one is KM visitors to school, allows us to request a driver's license of an off-duty law enforcement officer. They put that into play last year. We couldn't ask for anything, but now we can ask at least for a driver's license. So these, once again, these items will come forward a month from now to be put into the actual policy book, but it takes 2 different reads to make that so. Any questions I may answer for you on these?
I would hear a motion to approve the first reading of these policy adjustments.
Second.
Landon and Ryan. It's been moved and seconded to approve the first reading. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Signature card updates.
Yeah, with the addition or the changeover of a few board members, it's necessary to update our signature cards with Equity Bank. This just basically is a motion that gets everybody's name on the signature card. So in the event we needed to have a board member go to the bank and sign something, you officially could do it. So I recommend the board approve of the updated signature card with Equity Bank.
Second.
Moved by Jarek, seconded by Dave. To approve the updated signature card with Equity Bank, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. New business, early release for professional learning discussion.
All right, a couple of years, 3 or 4 years ago, we put in place an early release schedule in the secondary portion of the district for professional learning. It takes place, I think, the third Thursday of each month, somewhere in there. And it's just, we put that in because the need for professional learning, there's just not enough time in the day. It really wasn't a big issue because kids could drive or we were able to house them at the middle school just because of older kids. Well, through the years, there's become more and more of an evident need for a similar type schedule in the elementary division of the district. And so over time, we've taken a look at this, and I asked the ladies, and they'll come up to the table here to dialogue with you if you'd like, to look at the results from a survey we put out to the parents. Would you rather have an early release or a late start? How would it work better, in the elementary world? And so what I've asked, what it boils down to is, we are demanding more and more of our teachers today than ever was in place back in 1987 when I became a teacher. And so there's all sorts of professional learning efforts underway, and it's just really a complex piece of work that takes place, and we're only as good as our people, and we're only as good as the supports that we provide for those people. And so we need to somehow or other carve out more time, and one way is to provide an early release schedule. So what I've asked the ladies to come forward and talk to you about is the what. What is it we're talking about? And it boils down to it 6 times a year, because just the way the schedule happens to work. The why, what is it that we're really trying to get done with this, and then the how. So there's no action on this tonight. There's no recommendation, but I would be looking to codify this and make this a reality next month for next school year, not the school year, next school year. So with that, ladies, if you'd come to the table, please. And lay on, McDuff.
So we're just going to highlight some of the, I guess, biggest positives for doing something like this. First of all, it makes it possible for us to collaborate pre-K through 12, and it supports that consistent alignment that we would be able to do. Not that we would necessarily do that every single time, but it makes that possible, and so that would be one of our reasons.
Not only would it allow pre-K through 12, currently at the elementary level, we do have time for our actual grade level teachers to get together, but we don't have the opportunity to get together even as a building wide very often, especially like, for example, this year we've been doing a lot of amazing professional learning to build our instructional playbook within our district. So that's taken up every single one of our district professional learning opportunities. So we've had to try to figure out how are we going to fill in our building level professional learning just within. So we've sprinkled a lot of that in our PLCs, but it's just not a very collaborative environment when you're only meeting with one team at a time. So it would also give us more time within our whole building, especially just with what the negotiated agreement has for our teacher contracts. You just don't have time after the school day or before the school day with that.
I think one of the other pieces that's really important is that as we add, not necessarily add, but as we focus or look at certain things, having time to sustain the work that we've done. When we start working on something and we learn about it and we try it in our classrooms, we really need to have time to discuss how do we kind of check in and make sure that we're all still moving in the same direction. And that can be really difficult when you don't have that time to get together and have those discussions. So one of our other big reasons for it is just initiative sustainability, being able to carry on and keep those things going. If we find that they're important and they're important for student learning, then it's important for us to have time to be able to work on them more than just 30 minutes in the middle of a school day when we have a PLC.
And another thing is we all know that there's a high need for substitutes. And so this just reduces the need for substitutes for professional learning experiences, because right now we kind of have to pick and choose one teacher from each building. Typically, like this year, we couldn't even manage doing one teacher from each grade level just because we do not have enough substitutes for that. So you send one teacher from a building, or maybe two possibly, because we send our title teachers a lot because they don't require a sub, since they don't have students full time with a classroom teacher, since we only have enough subs for that. And then it's just hard to find that time for them to bring that information back that they were learning in order for us to get everybody on the same page and move forward with the professional learning opportunity. So having us all together at the same time, again, it's just more work for our building, or a lot of times our two elementary schools, it would provide that time for us two elementary schools to get together as well.
I think those are the biggest pieces. I know that I kind of briefly mentioned it. Currently, when we do our PLCs and our time to collaborate, Amy mentioned it involves our grade level teachers. But there's a lot of staff that are part of things that we do that aren't grade level teachers. And we do our best to update and let them know about things, but this provides that time for them to be part of those conversations when they first occur, instead of always getting the notes afterwards, or whatever that might be. Also, the fact that we have 30 minutes during our school day, this would provide a little bit long. We get started on something and we really get going, and then it's time for us to start thinking, okay, we're going to need to go pick up our kids, we've got to go use the restroom, we've got to check our mailbox, all those things that happen during a school day. It's not really time. I mean, it's not that it's not time, but being able to focus on that during that time is pretty difficult in a 30-minute piece. And we make it work the best that we can. But having, an hour and 15 minutes, that would just give a little bit longer for us to be able to really get into the meat of what it is that we need to discuss. Do you guys have any questions for us, or?
Randy and Amy, would get together and put together an agenda for those days?
Go ahead.
Yes, so with the secondary schools already having these days built in within the calendar, we would align our days with that as well, so that if needed, we can meet as a whole district. But like we mentioned, we may not meet as a whole district pre-K-12 every single time, because we'll also still have our built-in professional learning days within the calendar already. So some of this might just be for building-wide things, but 90% of the time, building-wide means we're together. So oftentimes we meet over here in the learning lab with our staffs together.
And two things I would like to stress and reiterate on this is, like Randy alluded to, the pragmatics of, when we say we've got an hour, in reality, there's a variety of things that suck away from that time. If nothing else, like you said, go check my mailbox, whatever. There's just a variety of things that take place. So it's not really 60 minutes that takes place. We've got to transition down to the place. So anytime we could carve out a little bit more time is a benefit. The other piece is over the last 3 years in particular, I'm really proud of the district's efforts, particularly in the realm of professional learning. And this has been pulled together through our KISA efforts as well. We're getting ready to go. We've got a meeting Wednesday, a check-in meeting with our Southwest Kansas executive, whatever her position is, her title is, gearing toward our school improvement day, which is in April 22nd, right? Well, the work that we've been doing, and we're all but finished with, is helping to create a pre-K2 instructional playbook. Pre-K-12. I said pre-K2, didn't I? Yeah, pre-K-12. When you're shaking your head no, I thought, it's pre-K. But anyway, yeah, pre-K-12 instructional playbook. So we do have a consistent approach to how we're going about doing things. That didn't used to be the case. Well, that does mean it takes time and effort to sit across the table from one another and talk about it. As Amy said more than once, though, if it works to be with the entire district, great. If nothing else, so we can have the entire staff of Wiley Elementary there. That's important unto itself, essential unto itself. Sometimes it makes sense to have pre-K-5 together, sometimes pre-K-8, sometimes just 6 through 8. But we are pulling the rope all in the same way nowadays. Didn't used to be the case. And so it is hugely important to come together and calibrate and that's part of the why behind the importance of this.
One other piece to this is for the last 4 years, we've been working with TASN on our MTSS efforts. And unfortunately, because of the lack of subs this year, with our second year in the math with them, we were only able to take one person from elementary and our title teacher and Randy and myself. And so that was what I was discussing earlier. It's been very difficult to find the time in our schedule to bring back that information. And every time that we meet with them, we have specific things that we have to take care of and do and put in place and bring back. And that's been extremely difficult because all of our built-in professional learning days have been with the instructional playbook, which is an important piece that we've all been working together. So and that happens often, where you have to meet afterwards to do the work that you learn. And so that's been difficult this year as well. So it would be very beneficial if we had these 6 additional days as a whole staff together, not just classroom teachers, because it involves all of our teachers.
So it would be 12 different half-days or only 6 different half-days?
6 days for an hour and 15 minutes at the end of the day. 6 days throughout the year.
So what about, where do the kids go that don't have anywhere to go?
So that's kind of what, the point of this is to get the word out there. And if this is something that's approved and that we move forward with, we would have the specific dates written in the calendar so that families have ample time to plan ahead for that extra hour and 15 minutes, hour and a half by the time we would have an hour and 15 minutes as a staff, so hour and a half early for the students so that they could plan and prepare for that. The buses would still be able to run, so the buses would run at that 2 o'clock dismissal. So the students would be able to be transported at that time. We had discussed partnering with the Holcomb Rec to see if we could possibly get something going there. We currently already have the after-school care program that they run, so we weren't, sure if they could have something that ran just for that specific time if students didn't have somebody to go home to, or possibly working with some of the high school organizations, the ones that need possible community service hours to help. So those are some of the ideas what we've thought of if this goes down the pike.
So the results of the survey was, they wanted it in the afternoon?
I want to say it was like 70% chose early release, so.
Is it currently not every month, not once a month?
No, so the months like November, December, March that we have the holiday breaks, we don't do the early releases. So that's why it's only 6 times per year.
So you would want to just match up with
Yes.
the other 2 schools?
Yes. Any other questions?
Seems like it's well thought so far, especially on the biggest challenges, letting the kids out early.
Well, we've tried. We did notice that a lot of our things here are just repeating ourselves a few times, but we didn't have to share that with you, but I'll just share that with you.
It would be easier on parents like me that have kids in both schools, so just to match up.
A lot of times in-service days turn into work days. We're lucky we have principals that make them worthwhile. I can tell that that's the case.
Do you
We
guys
try.
have any idea, ballpark, how many kids might not have anywhere to go?
I mean, we don't really know because, we have discussed how, we do have 4 half days throughout the year. On those days, kids have a place to go. I mean, and it's for the half day. So it would be a couple more days throughout the year, but I don't know. And you might know that better with your level, but.
I don't have a number specifically, but I was discussing this, Dr. Myers and I, with my building secretary, and just based on our knowledge And because there's often times that the bus drivers will get on the bus radio and call our school asking for us to contact the parent because they typically meet them at the door, or the front door is typically open and they don't want to leave them there because they didn't see an adult. So I'd say 70% of our students currently have somebody already at home waiting for them, but that's at the 3:45 time, not the 2:00 time. So I don't know if that makes a difference, because I'm not sure how many go home to a family member or a working parent, so.
Yeah, I definitely see the need for it. You guys deserve that as well. Able to collaborate.
Thank you.
Thank you, ladies.
Thank you.
Next item of business, handbooks.
Yeah, every year we bring forth recommended changes to handbooks, and I'm sorry, on your sheet there, I put these in the wrong order. The second area should be HMS, the third area should be HES. So the information is all accurate, I just had the wrong label, that's on me. So we'll have, I think there's a grand total of 10 different handbooks that I'll bring forward. The majority of these changes are dates and names and that kind of thing. But there are a few other items of change, like, cleaning up in Wiley's handbook, cleaning up the language about little Longhorn notification calls. I mean, when the kids make the phone calls home, to say, hey, this really cool thing happened. So one thing that is of special note that I do want to highlight of the 3 handbooks is we are looking to move forward with saying that at Wiley Elementary School, in order for, we really strongly encourage students who come to school at the age of 4 are potty trained. This is a growing concern in the state, coming to find out that more and more kids are coming to school not being potty trained. So we want to put it in paper or put it in print to say, no, this is the expectation. If you're going to be coming to school here, this is a part of home. Now, we not just immediately kick them out if they have an accident. Accidents do occur. But over time, we'd like to be able to point to the handbook and say, no, this is an expectation. We really need you to be taking care of this. So this is the first batch of handbooks, if you will, and I recommend the board approve of the attached handbooks.
Hear a motion to approve these handbooks for these 3 schools.
Second.
Sean and Ryan Trivogel. It's been moved and seconded to approve the attached handbooks. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. School Resource Officer.
Yeah, we're in our final year of a 4-year deal with the city of Holcomb. If you'll recall, people, new board members, you might not know that, well, you wouldn't know this, but the first 2 years we had grant money, and we paid the salary of the SRO, and that's when the position was born, if you will. And so we worked it out. It's a legal piece of work that the SRO has to be a member of law enforcement. We just can't go out and get our own. And so we choose to have this plan in place with the city of Holcomb. It could be with the sheriff, I guess, but it makes more sense for us to be with the city of Holcomb. So he's technically our SRO, who happens to be Jason Shelton, is an employee of the city of Holcomb, all right? And so for 2 years, our deal was we brought forth $50,000 and gave it to him, and then they worked out the deal with him, and they paid the salaries and associated costs, okay? 2 years went by, and the way we had written an MOU, Memorandum of Understanding with the city of Holcomb. So we did that for 2 years, and then they took on the investment for 2 years. Well, now we're done with that time period. So the question is, moving forward, do we keep the position in place? I'm a strong proponent of the position. Now, I don't think you ultimately take action on this with anybody's name in place, name or face in place, but I do think Jason does a fine job. But it's important, in my mind's eye, to maintain this position. And the reason it's important is it frees up the principal's time when there is investigative stuff that needs to take place. So individual principals are able to spend more time, as they should, on instructional leadership and working with teachers so as to do a better job with their kids. Now, I think Jason particularly does a good job with it because it's not just about punishment. he also works very hard on establishing quality relationships with our kids pre-K-12 across the board. But if something does not occur between now and the end of the fiscal year, the position is gone, unless the city of Holcomb takes upon themselves, says, okay, we'll pay for it. So I had a meeting with Randy back in August to say, we're interested in keeping this going, and this is the very beginning stages of the negotiations. What they would want, there are 3 pieces that they've brought forth to us, and this is the very, very beginning. I'm not prepared to say I want to accept these terms by any means, but they want $36,000 from the district on an annual basis. They want us to spend a one-time $11,000 purchase of a radio that works in the high school. I guess for some odd reason, the dispatch tower or whatever, it's a black hole in the high school. I don't know, the grade of brick, I don't know what the deal is. So $11,000, one-time purchase would then allow him to be able to connect with whomever. And then they want to build into the contract for, say, not to exceed a 4% raise per year. Now, the $36,000, I think, that's within, that's reasonable. We can work that out. Of course, I'll ask for less, but I wouldn't, that's not a major investment from the district. $11,000 for radio, that's, to me, a no-brainer. We can do that. Not a big deal. I'm not excited about building into any contract a set amount of raise at all. Now, the way it's written is not to exceed. Well, then I would want to say, I'm just not happy with that language, that idea. The fourth and final thing on here is I don't want their lawyer drafting this. If you recall, when we were trying to get that donation from the, and I don't care who hears me say these words, the donation of the message board with that 4-page single-spaced transfer of property, that was ridiculous. And we had to end up going back and forth with our lawyer, their lawyer, and everything in between. So if the board ultimately says, yeah, let's keep this going, and I've not asked, I did not tell the principals, and they'll speak their mind. I did not tell them I was going to throw this to them. I'm a proponent of this, and if you were to ask them individually or en masse, I think they would agree that they're in favor of keeping this position. 2 of them are shaking their heads at me. All 4 of them are shaking their heads at me. It is an important position, unfortunately, well, for the various things that I already discussed. So all I'm thinking tonight is for the board to just kind of look at me and say, yeah, work on the contract. Let's get working on the contract. This would go into play the new fiscal year, which is July 1. And so I would like to get this, put together and everything's done by the May board meeting for sure. But depending on who actually writes out the contract, if we write it, it'll go more quickly than if they write it. So if the board kind of gives me the high sign of, hey, let's keep going on this, then I will reach out tomorrow to Randy and say nobody took a vote on this, but nobody threw anything at me when I brought up the concept. So, do I hear harumph?
Didn't say which way the heads were shaking.
They're shaking yes and no. They're nodding. They're nodding, not shaking no. They're nodding yes.
I think the kids love him. I think we should definitely move forward and try to keep him as well.
All I needed. Thank you.
Special board meeting.
Yeah, this is the next step on the journey toward your finding a new superintendent for the district. Robin has worked with Dr. Carlin to look at the possible dates for you guys to come together for a special board meeting to start looking at actual applications. And so they have recommended to me to recommend to you February 16th at 6 o'clock. So I recommend the board set a special board meeting to take place Monday, February 16 at 6 o'clock in the evening.
Would hear a motion for that.
I motion it.
Landon. Dave or Sean? Sean? Been moved and seconded to set a date for the special board meeting, Monday, February 16th at 6 p.m. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Personnel.
I wrote 20 minutes, but you can probably do it in 15 if you want.
What are the options?
Do it in 10 if you want.
We hear a motion to go into executive session. Let's do 20 minutes, starting at 7:15. All,
A motion?
Landon? Gary? All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? That's carried.
So on the 16th, that's when we gotta have those 18 to 20 questions, right?